Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Mika, and today I want to talk about authenticity. So, when I started kind of thinking about this topic, a couple of things came to mind. And one of the things was, and I'm going to be like referring to my notes, so that's what I'm looking at. And, one of the questions that came to me was, what does it mean to be yourself? And what I realized is that we really are just like a collection of programming. And what I mean by that is, starting from our childhood, a lot of times we become who we are out of necessity sometimes. So whether it's, we found that maybe by being quiet growing up, it served us and it helped our survival. Even thinking about my childhood growing up, I'm not a quiet person by any means, but growing up, I was told to be quiet, sit down, stop talking so much. And, maybe for somebody who is a little bit more sensitive, that certainly could affect them in a way that they may start to move through life and feel that it's safer to be quiet. Or, maybe you have become somebody who is a people pleaser and want to do everything for everybody and be everything for everybody. And you think it's like, oh, I'm just a giving person. And you very well may be. But then also there could be a part of it in the sense that you found that, by being this, you feel more accepted, you feel more liked by others. So it kind of is a programming, and that's how or what has shaped who you've become. And so, I feel like a lot of us just end up moving through the world with this personality that is not even really who we are. And so it really kind of brings me to my next point, which is you have to learn yourself. You really have to get to know yourself. And I mean, it really starts with something as basic as like, what do you like? Whether it's what do you like to do with your time? What do you like to eat? What's your favorite candy? What's your favorite this and that? I mean, I really feel like you kind of gotta like date yourself and get to know yourself, because like I said, a lot of the things that we are or the things that we do are based on programming. It's not really intrinsic to who we are. And so that honestly was like the journey that I had to go on in terms of really just like sitting down and observing myself and really paying attention to, what I'm doing, the choices that I'm making, why I'm making them. And it really started this journey of authenticity for me, to be quite frank. And so the other part of it is, as you start to really pay attention to the things that you like and that you enjoy, because this is super important, you also want to start to pay attention to how you feel in your body. And so that was a big one for me too. When I started to, be around certain people or do certain things, I think about me moving here. I'm in California. I've been here for a few years now. And, you start meeting people and you're like doing things. And, I found myself going out and, going into bars and things with friends because I'm like, oh, okay, well, I want to get out. I want to get out the house because I'm a homebody. And so, but I found myself just not really feeling good in those environments. Not saying that I can't go or that you shouldn't go. But just in my experience, it was just like, does this even feel good to me? Is this really what I want to do? Or am I just trying to, make friends and it, like I said, it ain't nothing wrong with making friends, but I think it's important to study yourself in the sense of how do I feel? Because if it feels good for you, then it is the right thing to do. But if it's not really feeling aligned, it ain't worth it. And so the next thing I think about is, again, observing yourself, like, why are you doing what you're doing? I feel like sometimes we be like making decisions and not even really knowing why we making that decision. It's just like, oh, that's just how I've always been, or that's just what I've always done, without really thinking about like, well, wait a minute, where does it even come from? Like, was I, when did I start being like this? And again, this is just all the whole point of just start to learn yourself, just start to pay attention to your motives, your thoughts, your feelings on things, because if you don't really know yourself, you can never, ever show up as your authentic self. It's really impossible to do so. And so, in thinking about that, it brought me to the next point, which is, and it might sound kind of weird, but I honestly feel like it's true. Like, you really have to practice being yourself. And, when I think about it, like, one of the first things that came up for me was like code switching. And as a Black person, like, that's not uncommon. You know what I mean? Like, it's a common thing that we have our work voice, and there ain't no judgment there, because at the end of the day, we have done certain things to survive and to, thrive, or we felt to thrive in certain environments. And hell, I've done it too, but I realized that, you kind of have that like internal like ick, because you're not really being your true self. And so I feel like that's also why, like, a lot of times we get off of work and we just like, oh, it's like you taking off that mask and that costume that you didn't wore all day. And I feel like the hard part about that is that, because you got all that on, it's limiting the way your brilliance and your magic can really shine through. And again, ain't no judgment, because hell, we done all been there, but what I will say is that God gave you that personality. God gave you that voice. And that's what I had to tell myself. And I'm like, if God gave me this voice, God gave me this personality, then that means that no matter where I am, I can thrive and be successful with it. And so literally, I'm like constantly like monitoring myself. Again, this goes back to the last point of like really observing yourself. I really monitor myself in the sense that, I was thinking about work the other day, and I was talking to like one of my colleagues, and like I heard myself kind of like my voice did a thing, and I was just like, and I had to bring myself like back to the truth of how I know I speak. And, the thing is that I guess I call it calibrating for coherence is what I call it. And really, it's just about like that constant monitoring within yourself to kind of bring you back to center, because you know what your truth is. Like, ultimately, you know what it feels like in your body. And, again, if you're doing that work in the first, step that I talked about, then you'll start to know what it feels like in your body to be in your truth. And I knew I wasn't in my truth in that moment. And I kind of brought myself back and was like, okay, let me speak how I normally speak. And the other part of it is like, don't judge yourself, because I'm damn sure ain't judging you, but don't judge yourself if you do that or if you have done that. Because again, this is practicing becoming more comfortable being yourself in any environment. And, the other part of it is that like, I think about, again, I'm in a new area. So like meeting new people, I feel like it's real easy to just almost sometimes self-abandon, because you want to, form these new relationships. You sometimes over accommodate, or, you just maybe are overly polite because you're trying to, again, build these new relationships. And it's understandable. I think it's a good thing to be friendly and to be warm. But again, I think it's that kind of calibrating for coherence to see, okay, am I still being true to myself? Like, is this what I really want? Is this what I really enjoy? So again, I think about, me hanging out and, going to bars with friends. At any point I could have said, hey, I enjoy this from time to time, but what if we try these things that I like also? As opposed to just, I'm just going to do what they want to do because, I want to build these relationships. And so that's just something that I encourage you to do too, because I think it's important to, as we are establishing relationships, to maintain who you are and be firm within your own frame, no matter what relationship it is, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a romantic relationship, a work relationship, whatever it is. It's important to kind of stay true within your own frame. And, when I think about, again, practicing being yourself, honestly, start at home. Start practicing being yourself at home. And like, what I think about when I say practice is like, Start speaking out loud. I think that's one of the easiest ways to do it, because I realize most of us, we just stay in our head most of the day. Whether we live by ourselves, like I live by myself, so it's easy to do that. Or people who even live in a house full of people, it's easy to do it. So start speaking your thoughts out loud, because especially if you're on a quieter side, it's going to be difficult for you to go from being somebody who don't talk at all, especially at home, and then to get in front of a group of people and start expressing yourself. You have to practice at home. Start expressing yourself in different ways, dance in new ways, sing out loud, be silly, like explore the different parts of yourself, so that you can start to really, again, truly embody the totality of who you are, because we're not just this one thing. We're not just the quiet one. You're not just the responsible one. Like, you can be a variety of different things and different aspects of yourself you can express whenever you choose to. So if you're not really allowing yourself to just have fun and enjoy learning more about yourself, you can never really truly embrace yourself and be authentic. And I think that's a part of, like, just really falling in love with yourself, honestly, learning to understand yourself, learning to like yourself, and then learning to love yourself. I feel like those are kind of like the steps or the pillars to, like, really forming a great relationship with yourself. But also, as a byproduct of that, stepping into your authenticity again, where you feel comfortable enough and safe enough to take yourself wherever you are, whether it's to work, taking your full self to friends group, family, whatever it is. Like, you feel safe and enough to do that. And so I think when talking about being safe, the other thing I would be remiss if I didn't say was that you probably are going to have some people that maybe don't like you because you are being your authentic self. And let me tell you, that's okay. That's okay. Because you shouldn't be for everybody. Because if you for everybody, then you ain't being yourself. It's just impossible to do so. And not saying that you got to be a mean person, because I feel like I'm a kind person. But at the same time, I also understand I'm not for everybody, and nor do I want to be. I want to be authentic to myself. And that authenticity for some people is just going to be a signal to go the opposite direction. And that's okay. They get to. And I think, the main thing is just, again, like, choosing yourself and just being honest with what you want and how you feel about things, and staying true to who you are, and knowing that it's safe to be yourself. And so I feel like when you start to incorporate all those things, that is really the truth of authenticity. Because when you feel that what you think, what you say, how you feel, and, what you're thinking, those things are all in alignment, that's when you are in your true authenticity, when all those things are truly in alignment with what you're thinking in your mind, you're acting that way, how you're feeling in your body, you're speaking your truth. Like, that's true authenticity, when you have coherence across all those things. And so I just really wanted to just talk about that, because I feel like it's so important to show up as your authentic self. And even for me on this channel, I'm going to be trying a few different things. And, one of my pillars is that, like, I want to show up as my authentic self. And as I look back on some of my videos, I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I was really being my authentic self. And it might have been because I'm continually learning myself. So, maybe as I'm learning myself more, I'm showing up even more as myself. And, I just encourage you to do the same, because it just feels so good to have that internal safety of being yourself. And at the end of the day, like, you are not only good enough, like, God made you, you're amazing, you're wonderful, and you deserve to take that wonderful, amazing self wherever you go. So that's pretty much it. I hope that you liked this video. I hope that it resonated with you. And if you see my video pop up on your screen again, hopefully you click on my video next time. Until then, take care. Holla. Fun. Let's have fun. Okay, let me shake this off. Okay, let's have some fun. Okay, let's have some fun. It ain't that serious. Okay.